In this first episode of the New Weight Paradigm, I want to challenge us and myself, because I also need to be challenged in this, to think about weight a little bit differently than we've thought about it before. What is clear is that people are confused when it comes to how to manage their weight. What is also clear to me and from the research is that there's a lot of shame and there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of self-judgment and just feeling crappy when it comes to our experience with our weight and our experience with our body. And I've seen this. I've seen this in myself. I've seen this in other people. I've seen how much our struggles with our weight have impacted our ability to show up fully as ourselves and feel comfortable in our bodies and feel comfortable in the environments that we're in. And I am sick of it. I'm not happy with it. And that's why I'm doing this kind of combined YouTube podcast channel, because I really want us to start thinking differently about weight. And I want to introduce to you this new weight paradigm, this new way of looking at weight and framing it in a way that we stop feeling crappy about ourselves all the time. In a way that we feel confident about the food and movement decisions that we make. And we make decisions that, are based on evidence, but also are in line with our body, and actually build on how our own unique bodies work and use them as a powerful ally as opposed to always fighting against our bodies. So in this first episode, I want to really outline this new weight paradigm, this new way of thinking about weight. And the reason it's so important to start thinking about weight differently is because everything builds from that. If we have a view of weight that's very judgmental, that's very harsh, that's very taking care of my weight, taking care of my body has to suck all the time. If we have that perspective, it's going to color the choices we make. And obviously, the paradigm that we currently have, the mental models that we currently have about weight, they're not making a lot of people happy. And they're making a lot of us really frustrated, really angry, really bitter. And that doesn't feel really good. So I'd like to change that. And in this first episode, I really want to give you some insights into what is key to this new weight paradigm, how I believe that we should start thinking about weight differently. So maybe the behaviors that we take to take care of our weight, or we don't even have to focus on our weight if we want to, that's a personal decision. But so those behaviors we focus on, they become a positive part of our lives. And they actually make our lives better, right? Because I feel that a lot of what we're doing these days is just making us feel really crappy, and I don't want to see that anymore. So if you do not know me, my name is Deanna, spelled Diana Bedoya, and part of probably the reason I'm most qualified to talk about this is that weight has framed my life. My entire existence has in some way or another been framed by what I look like in pictures, or what I think I look like when I step into a room. I hate that. I'll be honest with you. I can't stand that I can say that, and I know that it's true that so many of my experiences I filter through, well, how did I look that day? Or how large was I that day? Or how skinny was I that day? And not only that, my life has been colored by this obsession with trying to achieve an ideal body size or shape that almost always felt elusive. And even when I did reach that thinner size, I never felt confident that I could stay there. And it didn't just solve all my problems either. And so because I have struggled with weight all my life and tried literally every diet out there, I've tried it all. I I have the benefit of experience. And I have the benefit of like, well, I went through these things, I tried these things out, and this is what I've learned from that. However, I don't actually think that's enough to be able to teach people about weight, because our personal experience with weight, how our body changes in response to the behaviors we do, it's going to be very different. You know, we hear a lot like calories in versus calories out, and that's what determines your weight. And that is true. However, it's it's really fascinating that you put people on the same kind of diet and they're going to have very different responses. And so my experience with my own weight colors my own view on how we see weight. And I bring that unique perspective to this. Plus, people love talking to me about weight, so I have I have a lot of stories and a lot of insight into the struggles that other people have with this concept as well. Okay, but just because I've struggled with my weight and I finally feel comfortable with my size and feel good in my body and have really awesome weight-related behaviors, I don't think that's like enough to be able to educate or lead people into a new way of thinking about weight. I also, I teach science. I teach science to undergrads that often want to be doctors. I'm a senior lecturer at Simon Fraser University. I did my master's in biomedical physiology and kinesiology, and a lot of I don't want to talk about weight-related concepts that are just about my own personal experience, but I want to ground them in the evidence as well. Because when we go too far outside of that, that's when scams occur. That's when people start telling you should go on this diet, you should go on that diet, and we get really confused and we don't really know what works for our body. So one of my goals with this podcast YouTube series is to really be grounded in the evidence. And that's actually what I teach. So I teach an obesity and weight management course, my BPK 417 course, which is like my favorite course to teach because I change a lot of people's minds, and I get to hear about a lot of people's different experiences with weight and weight-related behaviors, and it's really, really eye-opening. But I also teach courses in nutrition and health promotion, in anatomy. What else do I teach? And health as well. So I have that. And I do a lot of the research for my classes, so I'm grounded in the literature, and that's what I want to help set some of this material up with too, is like a scientific basis too. So I want to flavor some science in here, but not overdo the science too. And also, so that's what I do. So I'm a weight educator. I want people to be well informed about weight and weight-related behaviors. I also do coaching on the side. I am amazing at creating courses. That's what I do for a living. And put me on a stage and I'm happy. I'm also a speaker. So if any of those areas are something you need as well, feel free to reach out to me. Okay? But today I really want to focus on this new way of looking at weight, what I call the new weight paradigm, the new weight mental model. And when we change our mental models, when we change the way we look at the world, that's going to influence our decision-making process. So if we have a view of weight that's grounded in you should feel crappy about yourself all the time, that weight regulation is very simple, and if you don't understand it, then there's something wrong with you. And you also have the mental model that there's one ideal for how our bodies should look, and if you don't fit into that, there's something wrong with you. That's kind of the paradigm that currently exists, and it's not helping, y'all. It's not helping. Like, it's not making us feel more confident in our bodies or confident when we walk into rooms. It's really messing with us, and it's time we relook at things. Right? So if we're looking at things through this old paradigm, it's going to color the decisions we make and how we feel about ourselves. And I really want to get to a place where we start looking at weight and weight-related behaviors in an empowering way. And we work with ourselves. We understand that weight management is complex. It's very complex. Yeah, calories in, calories out. But how do you choose the things that make you eat a certain way and exercise a certain way? It's not just calories in and calories out. There's behaviors that go into that. And human behavior is highly complex and unpredictable. So if we're going to talk about weight, we have to be grounded in the concept of complexity. Okay, so that's one of the frames that we're going to use to kind of look at weight this new way. So in the next few little while, I want to go over what I would like to bring forth as the new weight paradigm, the new way of looking at weight that hopefully is more empowering, less confusing, and actually makes you feel good about yourself, because what's going on right now is quite honestly doing the opposite. Okay? So, one thing that we find in this old weight paradigm, the old way of doing things, is that what often motivates people to change their behaviors is when they feel bad about themselves. So we as a society, through things like weight bias, but we as a society often make people that are in larger bodies, we think that if they feel bad about themselves, then that's going to force them to change. And a lot of people have that personal belief for themselves as well, that like, well, if I feel bad enough about myself, then I'm going to change, right? So in the old weight paradigm, feeling bad about yourself is like the motivator of change, right? And the idea is, well, if I feel bad enough about myself, then I'll change my behaviors. And then maybe, there's a question mark there, maybe you'll lose weight. And then that is going to lead to self-worth, right? So in the old weight paradigm, it just sets you up for feeling crappy all the time. Because you feel crappy to begin, that's what makes you get started. You might feel crappy when you're changing your behaviors because you're not happy about them. They don't feel fun, and you're thinking about all the things that make you feel bad about yourself, that make you want to change the behavior. And then you change those behaviors and maybe you lose weight, but weight loss is never linear. Maybe you lose a lot in the beginning and less so going forth, and all our bodies are different and they're going to respond to changes in behavior differently. But then we think that when we lose weight, then self-worth, that feeling of I'm good enough, maybe that feeling of belonging, that may be that feeling of like, I'm finally safe in this body. We think it's there in the distance, and that as soon as we lose weight, we're going to feel that self-worth. And I've gotten through this myself. I've definitely fallen into this old way of thinking about my body and weight loss. You know, I remember being like 12 years old, and the first time I like really tried to lose weight was at around 12 years old. I don't know, 11, 12 years old. And I remember through the entire process, I was like mean to myself, just like, you're disgusting, you're gross, you're whatever, just really mean things, which obviously didn't have a great impact on my mental health. But I kept telling myself, while I was making myself feel shitty, and while I was engaging in behaviors that were extremely restrictive and extremely like excessive when it comes to exercise, I kept telling myself, well, this sucks, but when I lose weight, then I'll feel better. Then I'll feel good enough. And then I did. And then I lost weight when I was that age. I've lost weight several times in my life. And that feeling that I thought I was seeking out, that feeling of like unwavering self-worth, it wasn't there for me. It didn't just show up. It didn't just fix all my problems. I really thought losing weight would fix all my problems, and it really didn't. And don't get me wrong, being at a size that I felt more comfortable has helped me at times to show up more confidently in a room, but it doesn't fix everything. And the damage that I've done and other people have done when they've tried to lose weight in ways that were kind of grounded in this feel shitty about yourself mentality, is that that's going to mess with your mental health. And that's not going to make you fall in love with the behaviors that you need to fall in love with for weight loss, or weight maintenance, I should say, to remain sustainable, right? So I don't believe in feeling bad about ourselves. I don't believe in showing up every day feeling like I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and that I need to change myself completely in order to feel that way. So that's a little bit of the old weight paradigm. What I am so grounded in, as far as a new perspective on looking at weight, this new weight paradigm, is that self-worth has to be part of the process. And it has to be part of like how we get started. And it should ideally be peppered in to everything we do. We need to have a foundation of self-worth. And even if, and I say this and I'm like, well, it's not that easy, Deanna. I say that, but I also know that that's really difficult for people. I know it's very difficult if you've always felt that you're not good enough. We're so good at saying that to ourselves, and I've definitely said that to myself. If you come from that I'm not good enough place, it might feel hard to change that. And I totally understand that. But in this new weight paradigm, we put it on the table. We're like, let's remember that self-worth is a journey of self-worth is actually part of the journey of changing your weight-related behaviors and your weight, right? I want us to feel good about ourselves. I want us to feel empowered. I want us to feel and know that you are worth being on this planet. You are worthy of showing up in any room and shining that unbelievably beautiful light that only you have, of sharing the unique perspective that only you have, right? And you are worthy to be there. I've felt so long in my life that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough, and that's only negatively impacted my mental health. So in these following videos and podcast episodes, know that everything is going to come from a foundation of you are good enough. Everything. There's no like lose weight and then you'll be good enough. It's you're good enough now, and then if you want to, knowing you're already worthy, if you want to change your behaviors from this place of worthiness, or while you try to build up that sense of self-worth, you absolutely go ahead. And when you're working from that foundation of self-worth, the behaviors you choose might be more in line with who you actually are as a person and what's actually going to be good for your not just physical health, but your mental well-being as well. So in the new weight paradigm, self-worth is a foundational frequency. It's how we show up or how we learn to show up. Because again, it's a process. I'm not just saying that like, oh, I'm I'm worthy now and now I feel worthy all the time. I appreciate and definitely have experienced the fact that feeling worthy, feeling like you're good enough, this is a process that if that does not come naturally to you, because for some people it just comes naturally too. Like I think of a Lizzo, I think of just some people I know that can walk into any room and be like, I'm the shit. I know I am, and I'm gonna feel amazing. And I love that, and I don't understand that personally because self-worth has been elusive to me for so long. So I appreciate that feeling like you're good enough, feeling like you're worthy enough. This is a process that doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, including myself. But that's the base frequency we're going to work with, right? In this new weight paradigm, that you're already good enough. You're already worthy, that you deserve to be here, that you deserve to be in the rooms that you're in, right? And working from that place of I'm already good enough, right? You might choose to change your behaviors because they're going to allow you to live your life in a more fun and enjoyable way. They're going to improve your quality of life. They're going to make you feel better in your body. They're going to make your body function better. But it's not about, I have to change myself to finally earn this worthiness. There's this base frequency of I'm already worthy enough. And in this new weight paradigm, we move away from the old weight paradigm of something called what I call ideal weight. So when I say, what's your ideal weight? What comes to mind for you? And for most of my life, if you were to ask me what's my ideal weight, I would probably give you a number, right? Or I would give you a clothing size, probably, right? And so the concept of ideal weight is like there's some sort of ideal that you need to get to maybe feel good enough, right? Or to get to that perfect place, right? There's like this number or there's this size that we're trying to strive towards. And don't get me wrong, like of course it's good to have goals, and sometimes setting a weight related goal can be very motivating. But I want to just challenge that concept of a little bit of that your ideal size is a specific number. And instead of working with this concept of ideal weight, like maybe I'll feel good enough, I'll feel that I'm worthy once I reach this particular number, I love to work with the concept of best weight instead. So, best weight is a concept that came through in a book by Arya Sharma and Yanni Friedhoff, who are two obesity medicine doctors here in Canada. And in a kind of a practical guideline, clinical guideline book that they have that's called Best Weight, they define best weight, and I'm misquoting here, but something along the lines of your best weight is the weight you achieve when you are doing the behaviors that are healthiest, when you are engaging in the healthiest behavior. So if you are being healthy, you are eating well, and you're moving your body in a way that's good for it, and you're doing everything right, and ideally not compromising your mental health, the weight that you achieve while eating well, moving, and ideally being nice to yourself, that's your best weight. So there's more of a focus not on a number on the scale, but on a way of living your life. And so whenever you're engaging, so I love the concept of best weight because it's not in the future. So I can be at my best weight today if I, for today, eat well and move my body and, do behaviors that promote a healthy weight, which includes sleeping too and other things as well, right? So I love the concept of best weight because, again, it's just that joy isn't in the future. It's available to us every day. And in their definition of best weight, they go on to say, and I love this, like, there comes a point when you can't move more and eat less and still enjoy your life. There comes a point where, like, that's like, yeah, you can get skinnier, sure, but are you really going to enjoy your life if you're being perhaps that restrictive or exercising in a way that's too much for your body and your mind, right? They argue that, like, your best weight is this lifestyle of eating well and moving ideally joyfully in a way that fits into your lifestyle and that's actually enjoyable and sustainable, right? So that's a concept we're going to work with as well in this new weight paradigm, that it's not just about the number on the scale, it's about the behaviors you're engaging in. And once you're engaging in those healthy behaviors and you're hopefully enjoying, where does your weight settle then? And I know, as I'm saying this, I know that there's going to be people that like, well, obesity is unhealthy for the body and you have to get to a particular number. I don't like to focus on numbers. There's other ways of like measuring whether your weight is healthy beyond just a number on a scale, right? There's blood tests you can do. There's other like metabolic tests you can do to figure out, how your behaviors and perhaps your weight are affecting your health, okay? Sure. The number on the scale isn't enough to tell you that. And if we're always focusing on the number on a scale and we're not going to feel that we're good enough or that we've achieved anything until we reach that number on a scale, then we're going to feel miserable the entire time that we're trying to lose weight. Instead of being like waking up every day and being like, okay, well, I'm going to eat this healthy way and I'm going to move this healthy way. And by doing that, I am in my best weight. Right? I am in the best weight for that day and I'm promoting my best weight sustainably as well. Okay, so that's the concept we're going to use in this new weight paradigm as far as kind of a target. And I'll elaborate on this in a future podcast video where we talk about like whether you need to lose weight or not, right? And whether you want to take a weight-based approach to your health or not, which is really, really up to you. Okay, but if you choose to take a weight-based approach, I really believe in focusing on the behaviors and focusing on behaviors that are actually sustainable and enjoyable, which we often do not do these days. Okay. Number 3, as far as the old weight paradigm goes, the old weight paradigm often pits us against our body. And of course, if we are thinking that there's some sort of ideal of how our body is supposed to look, maybe that's flavored by whatever celebrities or whoever is around you, your friends and family. I'm definitely someone that's been influenced by that, where I like see people and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to look like. I see celebrities and I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to look like. They're cool. They're worthy enough. They're whatever, right? They're accepted and loved, sure, by whatever, by other celebrities perhaps. Maybe that's the ideal that I should strive for. And when you see something else as being the ideal and you look at your own body, my body does not look like a Kardashian's body, right? My body does not look like a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, even the newer ones that are a little bit, more diverse than have been in the past, right? My body doesn't look like that. So in the old weight paradigm, that would pit me against my body. And I've definitely spent a lot of my life being like really freaking angry at my body for being like, why aren't you this way? Why aren't you this way? Why are you hungry? Why are you tired? Stop being this way. I'm the one in charge. You suck. I hate you. I hate the way you look. And it's always me against my body. And I don't have to tell you how that affects mental health, right? I probably don't have to tell you how that affects my mental health, right? Or that's affected other people's mental health when we're constantly pitted against our body. And when we treat our body as the enemy, then we don't include it in the process of change. And our body, in the new weight paradigm, is our best ally, for making sustainable changes. How? One of the foundational ways your body works is that it sends feedback. It sends some sort of feedback. It sends feedback to your brain. It sends feedback to other organs to tell kind of different parts of the body what's going on, right? Your body is constantly sending feedback about how it feels, how it responds to things, whether it needs something in a particular moment. It's constantly sending feedback and we suck at listening to it. Honestly, the best word I can think of for how a lot of us treat our bodies is we gaslight them, right? So my body says I'm hungry and I'm like, no, you're not. That's not how you feel. You're not actually hungry. Stop saying that you're hungry. You're obviously not. My body's like, yeah, I am. I'm sending this message. Or I'm tired. No, you're not. Keep going. Keep pushing, right? Your body is not trying to do you wrong. It's not trying to screw you over. You're like, I teach anatomy and I love anatomy. And part of why I love anatomy is that the human body is like spectacular. It's freaking spectacular what it's able to do. The amount of things that are going on in your body right now just to keep you alive, spectacular, mind-blowing, incomprehensible. The kind of things that your body is doing at this exact moment to keep you alive, to keep you everything running, right? And to ideally help you thrive as well. And we just take that for granted. And we take for granted how our bodies are structured and that they're just structured differently, right? I told you I taught anatomy, and one of the greatest things I got to do in university is we actually did cadaver labs. So where we did dissections, which hopefully doesn't make you too squeamish. But it was so interesting doing these dissections because you actually learn how different the internal landscape is to the body as well, right? So you might have seen like an idealized version of what a heart looks like or what like the digestive tract looks like. When you actually look at human bodies, they're all over the place. There's like a foundation of like how things are structured and a general organization to things. But there is so much variation on the inside. So of course, and look at nature, look at different animals. There's so much variation on the outside as well. So why do we all try to fit our bodies into a particular box and deny the body's ability to actually communicate with us and tell us how it feels? Why are we so just jerks to our bodies about the way they look instead of celebrating them for the just magnificence? Magnificence? That's not a word? Yeah. Magnificence of them. And if you start to like really see your body for just like the freaking masterpiece it is, and it is a masterpiece, and you start to learn that like your body's actually set up to promote health. It already has like feedback systems in place to like make sure that everything's running kind of in a balanced state. Once we get past not listening to our body and appreciate our body's own wisdom and actually start listening to it, your body can be your best ally for behavior change, right? So that's one of the perspectives I want to change, because I want to make sure that our body gets to tell us how it feels and we actually listen to it, so we're working with its unique wisdom. And why I keep harping on this, and maybe talking a little bit in circles, is because, well, taking a step back, I teach nutrition, and nutrition is a frustrating thing to teach because the research is all over the place. So, for instance, saturated fats, are they good for you? Are they not so good for you? It depends who you talk to, and it depends how you frame that question. And it's really hard to know what is the perfect diet, or what is like going to cause issues, what kind of diets are going to cause issues with some people and they don't cause issues with other people, etc. And what diets are going to work best for people. It's really kind of all over the place. And that's because bodies are so different. And when we try to fit all our bodies into a, like, this is the regimen all bodies need to use, then we deny the natural wisdom that each of our bodies has. Okay, so it's important to work with your body and listen to the feedback of your body and make sure that the relationship we have with our bodies isn't compromising our mental health and our quality of life. Okay, so your body's not the enemy. Your body is a close ally, and we can use its wisdom to help us change behaviors in a sustainable way. Okay, next one. Still going. As far as the old weight paradigm goes, we do this so much. And I've done this so much in my life. There's no judgment there. We, instead of, again, working with our bodies, trying to figure out what's going to be best for our own particular bodies, we just follow what other people do. Oh, intermittent fasting is the thing that everyone's doing these days. Keto is the thing everyone's doing these days. A number of years back, it was Atkins. It was the South Beach diet. It was the grapefruit diet. It was the Jenny Craig. It was whatever, right? A lot of us feel so confused about our weight and how to regulate it because we've spent most of our life just listening and following what other people do, instead of figuring out our own unique way. And I get it. This is challenging. It's challenging to individualize your approach to health because sometimes you don't know where to start. And that's why, going back to that, your body is so important in this process. It's so important to start reworking, reloving our relationship with our body, so our body can help guide us into figuring out what's actually going to work for us, right? And our mind too. We need our mind on board as well. So for instance, someone tells me, okay, you need to go on intermittent fasting. Okay, you fast for 16 hours a day and you eat only for 8 hours a day. Well, this is what everyone's telling me I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to do that. And then I do it. And I've done intermittent fasting before. I've done every diet before. And for me, I did that diet. And for me, I had like zero energy during the day. I was like, I need to eat in the morning. And I like had a hard time focusing. My stomach was growling the entire day. I felt super low energy. I already have struggles with kind of energy levels, and it just like floored me. And I was miserable the whole time. And I was miserable, and all the times when I couldn't eat, I was thinking about food the entire time as well. Okay? It didn't work for me. It works for some other people. I'm not here to, don't come at me. Intermittent fasting, sure, go for it if it works for you. That's fine. I'm not here to like debate on which diet is best, because when we say something like that, like which diet is best, there's an assumption that there's one thing that's going to work for everyone, and that is not true. So in the new weight paradigm, it's not about other people. It's about you. Right? It's about you figuring out what kind of behaviors are actually going to be sustainable and promote health and are actually going to work for you. And so part of that is moving away from like the old weight paradigm way, which is number 5, I don't know what number we're on, whatever, of constantly going on these fad diets, these like short-term restrictive type diets that don't feel great and that, you know, we're not able to keep up. Like how many people have, like I know so many people that just go from one diet to another. They're just going from one diet to another. Oh, I tried this diet for a while. I keep picking on keto and intermittent fasting, but anyways, they're the popular ones these days. You know, I tried keto for a while and that didn't work. And then I went off of it and I gained my weight back and now I'm going to go back to it. And then the same thing's going to happen again. And then no, this time I'm going to do intermittent fasting and I'm going to go on that for a while and I'm going to lose a bunch of weight and then I'm going to gain it back. And it's just this freaking cycle that repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. And so in the new weight paradigm, we move away from those like one size fits all prescriptive diets. And when it comes to diet, I very much believe in something called appetite mastery. Now, that's a whole set of videos unto itself. But if we're talking about eating less, which is one of the foundational concepts of trying to lose fat mass, if that's what you're trying to do, if we're talking about eating less, the thing that makes us eat more is a strong appetite drive. Appetite is a brain concept, right? You have a part of your brain, the arcuate nucleus of the hypothalamus, that kind of is dually controlled, and it's got like an eat button and a don't eat button that's in there. Okay, and there's many things that push on the eat button. There's a lot of signals that we use that push on the eat button. So for instance, when you eat a lot of processed foods, that can push on the eat button a lot more than when you eat foods that are unprocessed, for instance. Or when we eat really quickly, right, we don't push on our don't eat button, the slow down button as much, and then we tend to eat a lot more. So in the new weight paradigm, again, because we're following our own path, because we're finding our own way, because we're using our body as an ally, we work towards appetite mastery, where we work towards controlling the signals that make us want to eat too much. Okay, and there's a lot of them, right? I have a whole video series on that on YouTube if you want to run out and check that out, right? But a lot of that has to do with like controlling your environment, changing the foods you consume so they actually promote fullness and they don't make you want to eat too much. Part of it's emotional regulation, right? Part of it is knowing how your friends and family influence you. And part of it is like your thought processes and how that affects your food intake. Okay. But again, in this new weight paradigm, it's really about figuring out what's going to work for you. It's very individualistic, as opposed to all the other messages that we've had out there that are very far away from that. Okay. And lastly, and it kind of speaks to that last point as well, is that in the old weight paradigm, we jump from diet to diet and we feel crappy about ourselves as we're trying these new diets. Our mental health is compromised and summer's coming up, for instance, and we're like, well, we have to go on this crazy diet right before summer, super restrictive, super miserable. You tell everyone around you, like, I'm on this diet and I can't eat this, and your whole life is about that diet, and it's strict and short term, and you're often miserable when you go on these diets, and I'm definitely speaking from experience. But in the new weight paradigm, and again, this speaks to basically everything we've talked about so far, I'd like to present the concept of joyful experimentation, right? With your body as the feedback, as key feedback. Your body and mind as key feedback, okay? So experimentation, that's all about like trying different things. Trying different things from a foundation of self-worth, from a foundation of my body's different, and I'm going to figure out what's going to work best for my body, from a foundation of if my weight loss process is going to be sustainable and I want to sustain these right behaviors, I have to find what's going to work best for me and what I'm actually going to enjoy. So joyful experimentation means like you try different things out, not like I try it out, it doesn't work, I suck, I failed. Ugh, that's old weight paradigm. That's diet culture right there, right? With joyful experimentation, it's like, hey, there's research to suggest that eating more slowly might help us not eat as much. Because when we eat too quickly, our brain doesn't receive the message it's full on time. And so we tend to eat a lot more. I definitely do that sometimes. But anyways, so with joyful experimentation, you're like, okay, eating more slowly, that's supposed to help me eat a little bit less. Okay, let's try it out. Tonight at dinner, I'm going to try that out. I'm going to try to eat more slowly. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try to just consciously do that. And then if I catch myself eating too quickly, maybe I push myself away from the table, or I kind of move around a little bit, or I put my fork and knife down. I'm going to try. Okay, I tried that out. And then how did it go? That's part of collect the data, right? That's how we run experiments. We try something, we collect data, we analyze the data, and then we're like, well, what does it mean? Okay, so you tried that out, and how did it go? What happened? Well, it was actually really hard. Okay, do you have to tweak something? Or it was actually really easy. Cool, let's try it again. Let's try it tomorrow. And tomorrow, maybe something else comes out that makes it more difficult. Okay, can we tweak that a little bit? Can we try something else? You're always trying to playing. It's like more like playing with different behaviors to figure out what's going to be best for you. Okay? So, because this video is already longer than I want it to be, I kind of want to leave it there as this introductory video episode into this new weight paradigm, because that's what this podcast, that's what these YouTube videos are based on. This new way of looking at weight management where your body is an ally. You are striving for behaviors that are sustainable and enjoyable. Self-worth is part of the equation. It's absolutely a foundational frequency that we're always trying to help promote. You're not going from fad diet to fad diet. You're figuring out what's going to work best for yourself. And part of how you're figuring that out is through joyful experimentation. And when it comes to eating less, which is definitely part of losing weight, right? We focus on something called appetite mastery, which is like controlling the signals that make us want to eat more. Okay? So in this new weight paradigm, it's really about you, and it's really about what's going to work best for you. And not just work best for you for like losing weight short term, but what's going to work best for you to show up and feel good in the body that you currently have. This is it. This is my body. I don't get to trade this in for a younger model or for a different model, a model that looks more like this or looks more like that. This is my body for life. So do I want to get to the end of my life and just have been fighting with this thing the whole way through And do I really want to get to the end of my life and feel like all I did in my entire life was obsess about how my body looked? And because of that, I stopped myself from enjoying myself more? That's not cool. That's not the vibe. That's like, ugh, that sounds terrible, right? I want us to get to a place where, yeah, we're trying to promote health by engaging in healthy behaviors, but we're doing that because when we're healthy, we just have more fun. Life is just easier. It's easier to do things, right? You can travel more. You can play more. You can run around with your kids more. You can maybe engage in your relationships more. I want to get away from the belief that you're not good enough because of the weight you currently have or the way your body currently looks. You're already good enough. But if you do want to get to a weight that's maybe different than where you're at right now, can we do that without compromising our mental health? Can we do that in a sustainable way? Can we do that in a loving way? And can we do that from a base frequency of you're already good enough? And there's nothing that you need to change about yourself to be good enough. But if you do want to change your behavior so you feel better, so you enjoy your life more, that's the vibe. And that's what we're going to work towards. Okay? So at the end of the day, you deserve to feel great in your body, in your own personal body. And hopefully through these messages and listening to this podcast and watching these videos, that helps you get there. So if you do like this message, click like, click subscribe, leave a review, whatever you do to help these things grow. It's much appreciated. And I think you're awesome. And I think you're already good enough. And I really thank you for being here. I'm Deanna Bedoya, and I'll see you in the next one.